SSPR, Self-Service Password Reset. So what exactly is Self-Service Password Reset? The goal here is to allow your users to be able to reset their own passwords. Now, I will tell you that by default in your Azure Microsoft 365 environment that this feature is not turned on. Users are not able to reset their passwords. They have to get assistance in doing that. Now, there is something to be said for allowing self-service. This allows users to take care of the problem themselves without having to contact our administrators and rely so heavily upon administrators to reset their passwords, or really rely on administrators for everything. That's one of the interesting things about the direction Microsoft has been going in the cloud. You may have noticed is that self-service is becoming more and more thing as we move into the cloud world. Microsoft is now starting to allow things like the Store for Business for self-service and things like that, where users can go and get apps that they need, and it's not so heavily reliant on us as administrators to do every little thing for the user. It's all about giving the privileges when they need the privileges, but then also making sure that the person is who they say they are. And that's really the key here, is that we want to allow the user to reset their passwords, but we also got to make sure that the user really are who they say they are, right? So this is really the goal of SSPR. Now, what are your key benefits? Well, one is managing cost. Having the man hours involved in a very, very large environment. You have thousands and thousands of users, users forgetting their passwords, fat fingering their passwords, whatever. This SSPR is a great benefit for us because the IT department can focus on other things other than having to reset passwords, or even low-level help desk can focus on other things than having to reset somebody's password. Another benefit, of course, is it's real easy to use. It's a very intuitive system. Basically, the user, they'll get a little message when they can't log on. They can go in there and reset their password themselves. They can't log on, okay? Or if they just want to reset their password at any time, they can, as long as it doesn't violate any of our policies. Another thing would be, obviously, you get an additional add to security, right, with this ability, because you can pair this with MFA, you can require two-step verification, and it's going to increase your security by utilizing that. And then lastly, we get a nice little reporting system with this. Microsoft has all this auditing going on in the background with your Microsoft 365 services. I can see exactly what users are having to reset their password, when they have to reset their passwords, and I can really track who, where, when, and how they're going about doing this. Now, one thing I did want to say about the self-service password reset is you could also have MFA at the same time. Do you have to have MFA? No. But you could have MFA going on at the same time, and this is a little flow chart that sort of breaks down, what happens if you did. So in this case, you've got a user who's going through this process, and you'll notice that there's really a fork here. One scenario being you have MFA enforced, and another being you have just SSPR registration enforced. So if you go down this route here first, it says the user is enforced MFA through the Azure console. We actually saw in our previous lesson on how to do that, right? So it says user enabled for SSPR. If no, then it says user is required to register one method enabled for MFA. Okay. The if yes, it says number of methods required, 1 or 2. 1, user is required to register at least one for MFA and SSPR. And then secondly, if they've got 2, then the user is required to do obviously 2 methods, and it says at least one method for MFA must be enabled. So again, this is if you've turned all this on, and this is the user logging on, and the user's logging on the first time after you've turned this on, they're getting this message, and this is a case where you've got MFA registration enforced. Now, the other way is just SSPR enforced. So from there, you'll notice it says number of methods required for reset. 1, user is required to register at least one method, or 2, user is required to register at least 2 methods. Okay, so again, here it can go either way, but it really depends on what you've got enforced. If you have MFA enforced with SSPR, you're going to go this route. The user is going to go this route, I should say. If you've just got SSPR with no MFA enforced, then it's going to go this route. And that's how the SSPR screen is going to work, or SSPR MFA screen is going to work when the user tries to log on for the first time after one of these or both of these have been enforced.